Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Story. Rich and spoiled lady ruined her own holiday because she didn't come on time to get her item. Maybe next time she should have better organizing skills and get everything she needs before the last minute. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. You will be available to serve me. I try really hard to remember all the good moments, especially on days like these. I'm new to retail management, and like everyone else, we're operating on a skeleton staff while the owner expects us to do the same level of sales as years past when we had 4 times the employees. I've worked 18-hour days. No, I'm not exaggerating, but I suspect everyone here has had the same kind of schedule for the last 2 weeks. We closed early today for Christmas Eve, and sure enough, as I was finally locking the doors to take my little girl Christmas shopping, a woman comes blazing up in her Mercedes. "Excuse me," she simpered, "but don't tell me you're closed. I need a bunch of desserts." I'm standing right in front of the sign on the door which displays our holiday hours. I awkwardly point to it and smile. "I'm terribly sorry, but we are closed." "Oh, it'll just take me a minute and..." "I'm terribly sorry, but we're closed. The registers are closed for the day. There's no product to sell." Once she realizes her smarmy smile isn't getting her anywhere, she snarls, "I checked your website and it says you're open till 8 p.m. I know this is a lie because I'm the one who updated the website with our holiday hours a month ago. "I'm terribly sorry," I repeat, "but we're closed," and she gets the crazy eyes and in front of my daughter screams, "You will be available to serve me." This is such an odd statement that I numbly apologize again and back towards my car with my daughter behind me while she's still screaming at me. "F you, you bee! You ruined our Christmas dinner!" My daughter was silent as we pulled out of the parking lot and finally said in a small voice, "That made me so sad." This woman called me the B word because I wouldn't open everything back up to sell her a dessert on Christmas Eve in front of my little girl. And our second story. How to organize creative, fun staff meetings. In the early teens of this century, I was the chief information officer of a large organization in my country. As a result of my problem-solving skills, the managing director, let's call him Paul, once in a while added problematic departments to my responsibilities. I even ran the communications department for a while. My star within the organization was rising, and at a certain moment, I was informed that I would get a new office right next to Paul for easy access. I also struck up a good working relationship with the chief human resources, Harry, and one of the senior directors, Pete. We'd regularly huddle in so-called working meetings where we would drink coffee, discuss work, life, and watch hilarious YouTube videos. One of the topics that regularly came up was the meeting room situation. The board had decided that the meeting rooms were outsourced to a third party to rent out, and the third party paid a monthly fee. However, the third party charged us as well, so every time we wanted a staff meeting, we had to pay for the pleasure. This was a regular peeve as every extra would cost money. The coffee on every floor was free of charge except in the meeting rooms. The big supporter of this was our own chief financial officer, Mark. Much hated by all, he would check everyone's spending line by line and would hammer you on every mistake, but if his department made a mistake, he'd send an email along the lines of, "Mistakes will be made, deal with it." The man had 0 friends within the organization. During one of the management meetings, Mark went off on a totally off-topic rant concerning financial waste. Much sighing and irritated looks from all around. Paul, aware that we disliked Mark, did defend him by stating that we should cut back in spending and look at cheaper alternatives for everything. All of us concurred. We just wanted Mark to shut up. After the meeting, Harry and Pete walked up to me. "Go for lunch." So we did. Harry started to say that he'd gotten an idea. He explained it over lunch. Our eyes twinkled out of sheer maliciousness. Pete would talk to Paul to get him to agree on principle without explaining the details, and we would execute our plans. A day later, Pete passed by my office and, broadly smiling, just said, "We have a go." And thus the wheels were set in motion. I write a mail to my departments that the next staff meeting will be held in a nice bar next to a lake, and that the drinks and snacks will be on the company. First, we'll have a staff meeting, which I hope we can keep to the bare essentials, and afterwards, it's a free-for-all. Prospects are it'll be sunny, so bring sunscreen and sunglasses. Airbeds and beach balls are obligatory, office dress voluntary. If people want to swim afterwards, that's their choice. The positive reactions from employees are overwhelming. Harry's done it in his department as well, same result. In the next few days, a vibe goes through the departments. People are happy, motivated, and seem to be a bit giggly. The day arrives, sitting on a beach under a warm sun with cold drinks in hand, because we're not barbarians. My staff and I work through the staff meeting in record time. All department heads have prepared written reports and distributed them via mail in advance, so the only thing I do is comments? No comments? Next item? The rest of the afternoon is seeing grown-up people behave like kids, splashing water all over the place, sunbathing, and enjoying a wine or beer. 2 days later, I'm called into Mark's office. I walk in, do my best impersonation of a saint, filled with an air of holy innocence. A vein on his beet red head is bulging. I position myself strategically at the meeting table so that I can duck when his head explodes. What in the hell is this? He throws down the bill for the staff meeting. I glance at it. 800 euros or thereabout for 30-odd people. Drinks, snacks, and the rental of some beach beds, well within limits. That's a bill for my staff meeting. That's not a staff meeting, that's a staff outing. And that should be authorized in advance by Paul with a budget. No, that's a staff meeting. I'd like to remind you that how and when I conduct my staff meetings is my sole responsibility. Furthermore, you emphasized during our last management meeting that we needed to cut back on costs and look for alternatives, so I did. Let me ask you, if I rent a meeting room for 30 people here, half a day with coffee and tea, a projection screen, access to network and projector, how much does that come to? He does some quick calculations and comes to roughly 1,200 euros. With an angelic face, I look at him, so I saved about 400 euros. Now, what exactly is the problem? The way he contorts his face makes me fear we'll have to get an ambulance. The meeting room rental is a source of income for us. We must support them. I will not stand for this. We're seeing Paul right now. Sure, whatever floats your boat. So off we go and march into Paul's office. There, Mark explains the whole affair while I keep looking innocent. Paul lets me explain my side of the story and I reference the calculation. Paul smiles. In my opinion, a very creative way to cut costs and enhance morale. I wish more people would think this way. And may I remind you, Mark, that it was you yourself who stated that we should look at everything. Maybe you should try it as well. With those words, he makes a subtle gesture we all know means you are dismissed. As we make our way out of the office, Paul calls me back in. Oh, can you stay for a moment and close the door? I'd like to discuss something with you. So I close the door and sit down. Of course, Pete had already briefed me and I personally signed off on it. I really think it's creative and hilarious. I'll allow it, as it has a positive effect on employees. However, don't force Mark to have a heart attack. He's a bit of a... I know, but he's also good at his work. So you don't mind if we yank his chain once in a while? Yank away. Maybe he'll loosen up. Well, you also know that Harry's done the same. I know, I'm looking forward to the tantrum with the bulging vein already, he chuckles. At that exact moment, some pretty salty language makes its way through the door, and about as dry as a martini, Paul says, I think Harry's staff meeting bill is turned up. From that moment on, Paul became a regular participant in our work meetings. Our staff meetings became pretty well visited after that, with a soundtrack of the gnashing of teeth of one certain colleague. That's a great story. Rewards the employees and save costs? That's a huge plus for everyone. Good job on being a good boss. And our last story, the litigating neighbors. My family's had a run of bad luck this year. We had a saying last year, it'll be better in 2015. Well, early in the winter, we were greeted with a call of, did you know the marina's on fire? No, we did not know that. It's our marina, by the way. My mother was in denial. We'd gotten this call a few times because the fire trucks fill up by the marina sometimes, and she figured it was just that. I didn't want to counter that the ice was over 10 inches thick at least. I hoped it was just a small fire. It was not. All that was left of the building was a tiny metal frame on one end. For a bit, it seemed like we could twist this fire into a good thing. The building was crap, and we'd never have been able to afford to bulldoze it. It happened in winter, when we'd never make any money anyway, If there was a time for a fire to happen, winter was a good time. The insurance called it a total loss, so anything we salvaged didn't count against us for a payout, but we were able to salvage things. A brief rumor started that it was arson started by us. I might do a post on who started that rumor and why it died so quickly, but it was going good. Then the lawsuit came in. We'd had problems with these people before, but a lawsuit felt a bit over the level of the nastiness they were capable of. They were suing us for harassment over other issues, destruction of family heirlooms — it was a tree, a baby tree — trespassing on property legally declared as ours, and other property-related stuff. We countersued on the not ridiculous stuff. So an important thing to know about this area is that the property lines are effed. When my family got the marina, we were sorting out the property lines with 4 different entities. The parcels were in bizarre places. One was in the middle of the building, surrounded by another parcel. The reason for this is because we're on the edge of 2 counties who both tried to determine the property lines, and they did so by markers that don't exist anymore or are now underwater as the lake levels rise every year. Markers literally in the original property lines are the old oak tree. We did find that one. It's a stump. They were the only people who refused to settle. We had to call in surveyors. Our surveyor gave us 10 feet of land. They didn't like that, so they called in a surveyor. Their surveyor gave us another 30 feet. Oh yeah, we enjoyed that. But on their lawsuit, they tried to go back to the original agreement before any of the surveyors. They had less than a stable case. We took photos of the property line from the water and lined it up with old photos. We got a new survey done after we heard they tried to trick the system by giving a surveyor the property line and getting him to sign off on it. We used the same company they did. The surveyor gave us even more property. They aren't pleasant people to deal with. We'd kept this really quiet, taken the high road. However, they shot themselves in the foot, as expected. They put up orange plastic fence around their supposed property line, which their lawyer told them to take down, and my uncle did rip down in front of them, but it was too late. One of the gossips of the lake asked us what was going on, and we were kinda, don't spread this around, but knowing he'd spread it around. He did. The whole lake knew that these people were suing us, the people who just had a catastrophic fire take our livelihoods. Oh, did it get nasty. We had people pouring in, sneaking gossip to help our case. They had a history of doing this. We were told to get a look at this legal document and that. People with motorcycles offered to drive by multiple times at inconvenient hours, which we explicitly condemned while looking pleased with the idea. Because these people were just being so stupid, I was expecting them to be stubborn through arbitration and shoot themselves in the foot during the court case, and thus, according to state law, pay all our legal fees. They did actually give in at arbitration. We got the property. They brought in 3 lawyers from a nearby large city. We had 1 local lawyer. They then fenced in their tiny, hard-lost property with their lawyer watching the whole time. Someone dropped by to let us know their fence wasn't up to county codes. If we report it, they would have to rebuild it. We've been a little busy, but I think summer, in the middle of their busy season, is the best time to do that anyway. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.